So this week's been a real interesting one. I've been really swamped, and I'll talk more about that here later, possibly. But also want to put a content advisory. I've been kind of on the warpath as of late, just really kind of letting it all out, venting a lot of frustrations that I have, especially with the Final Fantasy XIV community. And yes, this is the New World channel. And yes, this video is going to be talking about my thoughts on the expertise system, how I feel like it could be improved, and generally overall the state of New World and how I see it going into the fall release, especially with the group finder having been delayed. But just note, there's probably going to be some things that I say that might piss you off. There's probably going to be some things I say that you might agree with one way or the other. I always respect all opinions. But just note that if you're looking for something to be mad at today, I would highly encourage you to go find something better to watch. With that all being said, let's talk about the state of New World, the state of the expertise system, especially from my opinion as a dad and a gamer. I find it weird, first and foremost, how it's kind of, there's some weird parallels between Final Fantasy XIV and New World, and maybe that will come up in this video, or maybe I should make a dedicated video to that in the future. Let me know if you want to see it. But on that note, when I look at the state of the game, there's a few things that I look for in an MMORPG. And one of the things that I want to see from developers is communication. Now, I would say and make the argument that they have been really good, at least in terms of a lot of the games that I play. Most of them end up being in different languages, so I really can't fault those other games for translation and requiring of communication different issues, right? Like that's a bigger, global, more complex thing. New World devs, in my own language, I feel like I hear from them regularly, and I absolutely adore that. Is New World perfect? I can't wait till we get to a point where we don't have to preface any discussion or opinion about New World with the concept that everybody who plays it knows that the game is still being worked on. I like to think of the first couple of years of an MMO as kind of a glorified beta, which sucks because honestly, that's how Fortnite and Multiverses and all of these free-to-play games launch, but I'm glad that New World isn't a free-to-play game. Maybe we could talk about that more in the future. So what am I talking about, especially as it relates to expertise and as it relates to the development of the game? I do think we're going to hit a point where we don't have to preface it with, oh, New World had all this, players that launched, and then eventually the population does what populations do. They play other games. They dip because of bugs and errors, and then maybe they'll come back and check it out in the future. I'm not one that really subscribes to the theory that people swear off games and actually stick to that. I think the people who do that are the exception rather than the rule. Generally speaking, people are like, I'll never play this game again. Maybe that means a 2-year kind of break before they're like, what's going on with it? I'm generally curious because New World offers, I think, honestly, the best proposed monetization system with an asterisk, because we'll probably have to talk about that here this fall. Currently, it costs you nothing. If you've already bought in the game, if you already spent your $40 and you got your 400 hours, that generally seems to be the math that a lot of people kind of espouse. I think that's a great value proposition for the money, especially considering some games that I've spent hundreds of dollars on, and maybe I only put like $20, 20 hours into it. So anyway, I promised expertise. Let's get to the freaking point. I said I content advisory, and I haven't cursed yet. Who knows? Stick tuned to the end of the video. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I'm in a mood in this regard. So first and foremost, I've been working on my expertise in a newfound, tuned up way. I find it strange that several people, and when I say several people, it's probably like one or two. So again, when you start to talk about the overall size of the community that watches videos and comments on them, or smashes like, I don't give a shit. There we go. Ends up being rather small to the overall population, but still people are like, oh, he's not at, expertise level 625. Let's discount his opinion. It's like, all right, you do whatever the hell you need to do in that regards. I believe I represent the gaming community that isn't a full-time streamer, content creator, and plays a handful of other games because it's good for you, like Multiverse is phenomenal. We'll talk about that maybe over on Prime later. Anyway, all that being said is that I've been making a concerted effort on the expertise, and last night they released a patch that apparently fixed an issue because the expertise bump was supposed to happen already. And I have gone and opened up my coffers, and holy freaking shit, like this is powerful. Like the numbers that I gained today were insane. I'm thinking already, and this is again, I said I'm making a concerted effort, but before my casual play was having me average about 14 levels a day. I love playing this game. I log in probably too much, But overall, like, easy, not even trying. That's what you get. Like 14, I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm just chipping away at it. I just released a guide. I was doing the math based off of the numbers. Like, that's 145 days of grinding if I did that every day to get everything at least to 600. A little bit more if you want to go 625. But 625, it's a little bit different with how Umbral Shards actually function in that regards. But anyway, when it comes down to the gear and how that I just did, I got like over almost 100 levels, maybe even over 100 levels. And when you factor that in, it's like it's easily gone up from just casual. Again, I've tuned it up a little bit, but I would think that casually, just barely doing the bareness, like just not even really even stressing about it, I felt like I would easily get like 25 a day, like just right now. So almost a whole 11-point bump in the spread, cutting down those hours. Now at 25, when I was putting that considered effort, I was getting about 25 a day. Takes me down to 45 to 55 days, right? When you start to figure out like the real-time equivalent of a daily focused gear grind, like it does feel kind of substantial, especially like for other dads out there, other moms out there, like, hey, are you doing anything over the summer? Good. You know, like you can actually make this incredible goal. And that's going to lead me into, I think, the improvements the system can have here in a second. But when it comes down to it, also the questions of the long-term health and scalability of the gear grind within New World. But now all of a sudden it's like, with that concerted effort, that's pushing me into 40 to 50 levels a day. Now, the reason why I ended up having so many more today than anything else is I got my coffers and I didn't open them because of the patch notes. I was like, you know what, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to see what this bump was. So weirdly, I was getting 2 to 3 levels a bump as a part of the coffers. Now, I did get some 9s as a part of like, you know, anything coming from the expeditions, etc. But generally speaking, 2 to 3, maybe I'd see a 4 within that. Now I'm getting 4 to 5, even got a couple of 7s on the board today. Freaking wild. So the ease of access has been tuned up, meaning players returning, that time frame is actually getting cut down significantly, and then getting people into the 600 to 625 gear grind. And that kind of just makes me, you know, look at the future health of the game. What are we going to see it do over the course of the next year, especially because they did confirm that a gear score increase is not coming in the fall. I think ultimately that is a good thing, but I still think we need, you know, some more avenues. And I said this in the guide, and I'm going to say it here right now, and I'm going to keep repeating this. And if you agree with it, please put that feedback in for the devs. But when it comes to your weapon experience and your player experience, I really currently the most frustrating thing I have, and when I say frustrating, like I absolutely love the game, I'm having a wonderful time with it, but it's just like I think I would really get tuned up to the next level for me is if experience actually had a value, is if weapon experience after 20 had a value. And I don't want that value to drive player progression. My concern is I don't want to introduce like a merit style system or a Paragon system in which that in order to do the content, because people will gatekeep no matter what, just like they try to gatekeep me in the comments, people will gatekeep in game. The harder the content gets, the more that's going to come into play, because people aren't just like trying to keep you away. They're concerned that you're going to waste their limited time. And in the world which we have so much communication and technology, it's interesting how we're all just so much busier than we ever were before. It feels like we have the ability to do more, and so we do more, and then we're stressed the fuck out. I'm guilty of this. This is my problem as well. So on that note, though, I think those two systems in themselves, as we look at the expertise system as a whole, it doesn't bother me. As a what I would consider myself a kind of a hardcore casual player, like I will take part in the content when I have the available time, and I get that time every Friday. And that's what we've been doing as a part of this community. It's just playing the game together, having a good old time, and just generally enjoying some just freaking game time, right? But that's very limited. So I generally enjoy the expertise. I don't mind the time gating behind it. I know somebody was saying it's garbage. It's like, even as I've been casually leveling through it, and now as I'm getting gear into the 625 range, as I'm starting to cap out weapons, like I actually really appreciate the system as it exists. I think the Umbral Shard system is something I want to talk to you guys about here in a second. I like how it exists. I think that if they added in the weapons aspect and the general XP aspect, I think that evens it out overall to make everything you're doing in the game worthwhile. And what I mean by that is that once you hit 60, I've stated this right even earlier on, once you hit 60, and yes, there's a Madrid of issues and things like that maybe I'll talk about in future videos. But once you hit 60, like, an XP just becomes worthless. You see the value of town boards go down. You see the value of gathering and crafting go down. You see the value of quests themselves go down. In fact, I continue to show my map in game. It's filled with quests that are ready to be turned in. And I'm just like, nah, like, I'll get to it. I'm holding on to hope that they're going to add in something here that lets XP have some kind of value. I don't think it should take you to 61. I think it should just fill up, and just like the aptitudes for crafting and gathering, reward you with something, for that time. And again, I'm actually advocating that it's the least efficient way to increase your score, but the fact of just playing the game and earning that stuff works. Same thing for the weapons. Only the difference is that if you got an aptitude for a weapon, that would be an expertise or, a reward for that weapon itself, a roll on that. Now, granted, here's where I think things are going to get maybe a little bit controversial, especially if you're, a crafter, or I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of opinions about what I'm about to share. And I'll keep this short. When it comes to the Umbral Shard system, I really actually enjoy that system. Umbral Shards, investing in a piece of gear, bumping that gear up. But then it has me go and look at, especially, let's just talk about the legendary items in the game first. It makes me wish that any of these named legendary items, even the lower level ones, were able to accept those Umbral Shards. And yeah, maybe a bunch of Umbral Shards, but a way of leveling those up into a gear score to where they're valuable, thus making all legendaries that drop out throughout the game, like the ability to invest in and continue to keep. Now, that being said, is that what happens with epics and rares and, uncommons and things like that? Like, how do you contain and maintain that? I would love to see a system in which that, obviously with gear, especially when it comes to the rolls and the complaint around the RNG nature of endgame gear progression for crafters, I would be really great to see if crafters could take gear that they made, lock in perks, and then invest on the rerolls of the additional perks. So that way you eventually work your way into that set, and that being using and pulling from like the gear that you've gotten before. I would love to see a little bit more investment, especially when you get a really cool piece of gear and it's just not at the level that you wish it was, but to be able to invest in that. Now, we see a little bit of that with 590 to 600, and I would love to see kind of that brought more into the overall gearing strategy of the game itself. I'm sure that there's 100 things that we could poke holes in that, so I'm not saying it's a perfect system, and I would never, I think, advocate that any of my ideas are absolutely flawless. I think that's hubris. But beyond that, I think essentially more of those kind of systems in play. But then I think anything like that, I would want to make sure that connected within the crafting community. I wouldn't want to, regulate crafters over into their own RNG nightmare of a hellhole while everybody else is just having fun upgrading, with Umbrals. I think essentially, like, at that point where if you're like talking about like investment into that, it couldn't be just player driven. You want to be able to like say, hey, I need a crafter to help me kind of boost this up, or you could choose to go craft yourself, or you could, I don't know, maybe list something for enhancements like on a kind of a work board, and then crafters could come through so you're not having to find somebody who's always online. I think there's systems that could be absolutely brought into place and can end up kind of fleshing out the overall nature of the end game progression grind and more. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see. Like, we don't know what we don't know. Like, that's one of the most exciting things about this game in a weird way, in a twisted sense of it. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know if we're going to go with level crap. I do worry about too much leaning into vertical progression. There is a value in that, but if it's too soon, it's going to feel like, why do it at all? Because you're just going to get bumped. Ultimately, we'll see how this evolves and into what it's supposed to be. And I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think about the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I believe I covered everything. Again, this is just a coffee chat, me sitting down and drinking coffee and talking about video games. Anyway, guys, thanks for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.